Hello everyone, welcome to RM24.com channel, and today we'll be taking apart Samsung Galaxy A26. First of all, as usual, we need to remove the SIM card tray. To do that, we use a SIM eject tool inserted into the hole and carefully push the tray out. After that, we need to heat up the surface of the back cover to around 70 degrees Celsius or 160 degrees Fahrenheit. We are using a heating mat for this, but you can also use a hair dryer. And after about 10 minutes, we can move on to separating or peeling off the back cover. For this, we use a thin plastic film carefully inserted into the gap between the back cover and the mid frame and slide it along the edge to cut through the adhesive. As always, be especially careful around the cameras so you don't accidentally touch or damage the lenses. It is also better not to push the tool too deep under the cover, since we don't know exactly what components are located underneath the back cover. So we carefully work our way around the edge. There is no need to rush or use excessive force or bend the cover, so nothing gets damaged. Eventually we can open the back cover. As we can see, there are no components attached to the back cover itself. Next, we need to cover the camera lenses. For this, we use a special protective film. Please note that we apply the film not onto the lenses themselves, but onto the rim around them. And after that, we move on to remove the screws from the upper section. For this, we use a 1.5mm Phillips screwdriver or a Phillips #30. We carefully remove the screws and place them onto the dedicated surface. It is best to arrange the screws in a specific order, because sometimes screws don't thread properly if they are put back into the wrong holes. Next, we detach the upper cover with the antennas, carefully pry it up using a non-metal tool so we don't accidentally short anything on the motherboard. Using the same non-metal tool, we also disconnect the battery connector. After that, we move on to remove the screws in the lower section. Just to be safe, it is better to keep the lower screws separate from the previous ones. If the screws are difficult to remove, it is better to use a magnetizer and tweezers to carefully take them out. And now we remove the last screw. After that, we need to detach the lower cover. Carefully pry it up in the correct spot, lift it, remove the loudspeaker cover and set it aside. Next, we need to disconnect the connectors on the subboard. We disconnect the interconnect flex cable connectors that lead to the display and subboard. We disconnect the connectors on the motherboard side as well and move the interconnect cable out of the way. Please note that the arrow indicates the direction toward the motherboard. This will help during reassembly. Then we disconnect the two coaxial cable connectors. Disconnect them and move the cables aside so they don't get in the way. We also need to remove one screw that secures the subboard. As you can see, this screw is different from the previous ones. After that, we carefully disconnect the subboard, gently pry it up and remove it. The subboard contains the charging port, microphone and other components on the opposite side. And now for our traditional quick microphone hole test. The microphone opening is located in the display frame and has an L-shaped design. On the opposite side there is a protective mesh and membrane. The microphone body itself is located on the back side of the subboard. If we insert something into the microphone hole, we won't actually damage the microphone this way. Meanwhile, the vibration motor remains inside the display frame. After that, we move on to the upper section. In the upper section, we need to disconnect the two coaxial cable connectors. After that, we can disconnect the fingerprint sensor connector, most likely. We disconnect one rear camera, then disconnect the front camera and remove it. It is best to cover the front camera lens so dust or debris doesn't get onto it. Before removing the motherboard, we checked to make sure there are no screws left. As we can see, one screw is still securing the motherboard, so we remove it. This screw is also different from the others. Now we can remove the motherboard. We lift it carefully by the edge, gently raise it, wiggle it free, remove it and flip it over. We need to disconnect the connectors and remove the rear cameras. Carefully disconnect the rear cameras and set them aside. We also set the motherboard aside. Finally, we move on to remove the battery. Traditionally with Samsung devices, we need to peel back the blue pull tab and the transparent protective layer. Then we carefully pull upward on the blue tab to remove the battery. But as always, it is not quite that simple. We need to slightly leave the battery and separate the adhesive underneath. And the battery is held in place by transparent adhesive protective layer. And that completes the disassembly. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again in our next videos, either on our Telegram channel or on our website.